Abiyah, we thank you for another opportunity to come before your people. Allow me some time of study to be able to share some things, and hopefully with time, maybe some dialogue can come off of this. Well, blessings and shalom, everyone. What I want to deal with at the moment is, so who is the covenant really with? When I came up in Christianity, we were told that we were spiritual Israel. And so upon becoming a Brew or Hebrew or Israelite, or however you want to call it, there have been some things that, as I read the scriptures, that conflict what I was taught. And so I want to kind of go through those things. For one, I don't believe Yah to be a liar. I believe that whatever he says or whatever he sets in motion, he intends for that thing to go out and do what it's supposed to do, that his words will not come back, void, and that he doesn't say anything in vain. And so with that being said, I'm going to, get started. Let me go share my screen a little bit and let's get started. I'm going to do a lot of reading. A lot of folks, they read on their own, but I'm going to read for you. And so what I'm going to do first is establish who Israel is. So we're going to go to Shemot, Exodus 4 and verse 22. And it says, you shall say to Pharaoh, thus said Yahuwah, Yah, Hey, Va, Hey, Yasharel or Israel is my son, my firstborn. So this acknowledges that Israel is directly connected through Yah because he has claimed him as his firstborn son. This is important, because covenant is basically based on relationship. I'm in covenant with my wife, and so we have a intimate relationship. The relationship between a father and a son is intimate. He's claimed Israel as his firstborn son. So I know that one of the things that I came into this Brew life being shared with was the Deuteronomy 28 situation. All through my Christian walk, I had always heard this song from Fred Hammond, blessed in the city, blessed wherever you go. And I had read the text, but I never really comprehended that the blessings that came along with that were actually not unconditional, but very much conditional. If you do this, you'll be blessed. If you don't do this, you'll be cursed. And these conditions were specifically spoken to Israel, not any other nation. And in that, if Israel obeyed, they would be blessed everywhere they go. But if they disobeyed, they would be cursed. And in that cursing, they would be almost scattered through it, all the earth. They would be dispersed. They would basically have so much stress and struggles going on that it would be obvious that they were being disciplined, that the rod was coming towards them, that, whatever they did was getting punishment. They were getting punishment. I'm not going to go there, but let's keep going where I want to go, since they are, the ones I'm declaring that is in a covenant, and as well as saying that they've been dispersed, as scattered. Let's deal with that. I'm going to go over here to Exodus or Shemot 19:5, and I'm going to read down just to 6. And it says, and now, if you diligently obey my voice, there it goes again, obey my voice, and shall guard my covenant. You should shamar my covenant. Then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples. for all the earth is mine. So basically, he's showing them a great level of respect and setting them apart. And you shall be to me a reign of priests. This is not every other nation. This is just this one nation would be a reign of priests and a set apart nation. Those are the words which you are to speak to the children of Israel. This was not spoken to Christians. This was spoken to Israel. This was not spoken to Egypt. This was spoken to Israel. This was not spoken to Esau. This was not spoken to anybody else other than Israel. See, one of the hangups that come about in most of the discussion is this spiritual Israel talk. And I agree that spiritual Israel is who he'll be dealing with. But the thing that most people run into conflict with me about is because I say that spiritual Israel will be chosen out of the remnant of natural Israel. That this was speaking to natural people here, but their disobedience caused problems, caused them to not be blessed in the city, not to be blessed where they go, but yet his promise was with Israel, was not with anyone else. And so he spoke this to natural Israel. So his spiritual Israel will be chosen out of the remnant of Israel. This bothers folks. They say, oh, you're not including anybody else, but yet there's Leviticus 19, I think 31 through 33, so 30, all the way down. It basically says that the sojourner will be treated just like they were among Israel, though they're not Israel. If they come in and they abide by the commandments, they do basically what's said here. You know, they have to guard his covenant. The covenant would not be with them, but they could still get the benefits of it to an extent. They would not be Israel, but that bothers people. It bothers other nations to hear that they would have to be a possession of Israel. And a likelihood to me, I see that problem come into play because the possession Israel became here in this USA, we were kidnapped and actually treated very harshly. And, you know, the chattel slavery that we were under was very harsh. And I guess they believe that we desire to have them in the same type of chattel slavery and not as possession. Basically, the possession that's going on, you know, is like this right here. We would be his treasured possession and they would be our treasured possession. You see right here, he's not looking to misuse or abuse us, and we would not be looking to misuse and abuse them. Our obedience sets us in a position, and their obedience would set them in a position. All about order. But that's a problem. When they were in control, when they've been operating as the head, they did it harshly. We're not supposed to do that same thing. That was never the intent. We were supposed to be the example. We're supposed to be, as it says here, royal priests. So that means we're supposed to be ministering spirits. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Going over here to Yirmiyahu. Since, you know, we talk about covenants, might as well actually share what it says about this covenant. So I'm going to read 31 and 32, Yirmiyahu or Jeremiah 31. And here it says, see, the days are coming, declares Yahuwah, when I shall make a renewed covenant. With who? With Christianity. No, that's not what this says right here. It says with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehudah. The original people that he made the covenant with. See, the northern kingdom is Israel, the southern kingdom is Yehudah, but all together they were Israel at a time until they broke apart. So everything that he's been doing has been with Israel and no other nation. They were set apart and were to be established as his royal priests. Of course, many know that the Levites were the example of priesthood in Israel. But they were just giving an example to Israel because all of the nation of Israel would be, or supposed to be, priests to the nations. That's hard to hear. It's hard to hear that the oracles are supposed to come out of Israel, because all our lives, most of us have been taught and trained. Even if we went to Bible college, we had Caucasians, we had other nations basically teaching us. And they showed us or taught us things that really steered away from our culture and heritage. And it kind of lifted them up and gave them place and position that, we were more so seen as possessions. They would train us how to honor our masters and all these things, ignoring scriptures like, that the man-stealer, ones who kidnap, would be subject to death. All of those things were ignored because we were stolen people. And I get it. Most people, say, well, you mention that, but you don't mention your transgression. And so that us being stolen people, it was due to our disobedience. We're under punishment. So, it's kind of off kilter to just only point out that they kidnapped us and not set forth that we were kidnapped or we were uncovered because we uncovered ourselves. Yahuwah did not uncover us. It was our disobedience that did so. But again, not like the covenant I made with their fathers in the day when I strengthened their hand to bring them out of the land of Mizraim, my covenant which they broke, though I was a husband to them, declares Yahuwah. So here it goes. It acknowledges that Israel broke the covenant. I didn't put 33, but I'm going to read it anyway. For this is the covenant I shall make with the house of Israel after those days, declares Yahuwah. I shall put my Torah in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and I shall be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. He said he's going to do this. Has it happened? Is he a liar? Is he a man that he should lie? Is he going to replace us? Is that his goal? Or, most people that have read the story of Moses should remember that Moses was told that, okay, I will destroy them all and make out of you a nation. And Moses reminded Yahuwah that no, that would be going against what you said. And Yahuwah turned back to his promise and went back towards saving Israel and not just using Moshe. That was not like, most people would make it like, okay, Moses checked him. No, that was not it. He wanted Moses to speak in agreement to what his original words were. And that's what happened. But okay. Anyway, the fact that some people want to accuse me of being Torah only. I'm not. But I like to use the New Testament when it agrees with the Torah. So, okay, we just read that. Let's find somewhere in the New Testament that agrees with that. Hebrews 8. And let's go down to verse 8 and then read down to 10. For finding fault with them, he says, see, the days are coming. Sounds very similar to Jeremiah. Says Yahuwah, when I shall conclude with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehudah a renewed covenant. With who? Again, with the original covenant bearers. I don't know. That to me, it's very simple, that the benefactors of a covenant would be those that the covenant was made with, and not other folks. Other folks may get the benefit, like, okay, I'm in a covenant with my wife. My children get benefits from that covenant, but they are not the ones that the covenant is made with. It's me and my wife. They happen to be, children of us, or you could say possessions. So our possessions or our children get a benefit. as long as the covenant is together. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand and led them out of the land of Mizraim, because they did not continue in my covenant, and I disregarded them, says Yahuwah. Because this is the covenant that I shall make with the house of Israel after those days, says Yahuwah, giving my laws in their mind. The difference, laws in heart and mind, I believe those mean the same thing, but people would have to check and see what I guess it was translated from. But this it's almost verbatim. And I will write them in on their hearts, and I shall be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Verbatim. So he didn't change who he cut covenant with. Same people. So again, the initial question is, so who is the covenant really with? Is it with this spiritual Israel that consists of other nations, or is it still with the remnant of Israel that spiritually are connected? I never denied that others would get a benefit from it. Just like I said, my children get a benefit, my possession get a benefit from my covenant. As long as they obey, they stay under the guidelines of this household, they get the benefit. They stay, this is my kingdom, I guess you can say. They stay within the benefit, within the guidelines, they get a benefit. But anyway, I'm still reading. Let's keep on reading. All right. Let's go to Ezekiel or Yehezkel, 22. And we're going to go down verse 15 and 16. I'm not one that can say I precept or whatever and stuff like that, but I feel like this may be the closest I'm getting to precepting. Yeah. 15. And I shall scatter you. Scatter who? Talking to Israel. Among the nations, and shall disperse you throughout the lands, and shall consume your filthiness out of you, and you shall profane yourself before the eyes of the nations, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah. He's talking to Israel. Talking to Israel. Talking to Israel. Talking to Israel. That's pretty interesting. He's going to scatter. Scatter. Let's keep going. Now I'm going to go over here to Isaiah or Yeshayahu or Yeshayahu 66. And I'm going to go down to verse 20. Now I mentioned about the royal priesthood earlier, that Israel, not just Levite, was going to be royal priest to all the nations. So here it says 20, and they shall bring all your brothers. This is Isaiah writing this. Who is he writing it to? Israel. So all your brothers, these are ox of Israel. Yahudim in Israel, Yasharab, as an offering to Yahuwah out of all nations. Remember, they were scattered. How they going to get there? They going to travel on their own? No, they're coming on horses and in chariots and in litters and on mules and on camels to my set apart mountain, Jerusalem, declares Yahuwah, as the children of Israel bring an offering. It's saying that, it's bringing the brothers. So the children of Israel is talking about the children of Israel. Oh, they bring an offering in a clean vessel. The ones that are coming are now clean vessels into the house of Yahuwah. They're the offering. Remember, Levi, was the inheritance of Yahuwah. But now, Israel, the children of Israel, are the inheritance of Yahuwah. And from them, too, I shall take for priests, for Levites. He didn't say I'm going to take just the Levites, but I'm going to take out of the children of Israel for Levites, declares Yahuwah. So he's going to set his royal priesthood out of all of Israel. Whereas the new heavens and the new earth that I make stand before me. So this is not now. This is after this lifetime is done, because it says new heaven and new earth that I make stand before me, declares Yahuwah. So your seed and your name shall stand. Who is your seed? And what is the name? Israel. Not any other nation, not Christianity, not Israel. I'm going to keep reading a little bit. And it shall be that from new moon to new moon and from Sabbath to Sabbath, but they say the Sabbath don't matter. This is after the new earth. We're going to have Sabbath. All flesh shall come to worship before me, declares Yahuwah. Wow. And they shall go forth and look upon the corpse of men who have transgressed against me, for their worm shall not die, and their fire not be quenched, and they shall be repulsive to all flesh. Wow. So it looks like those that got judged going to be corpse and available to see. So it's going to be something that's set as a remember, or something to remember, to say, oh, you don't want to go there. You don't want to go that route. But they come in clean vessel. Let's deal with this. Let's deal with this. All right. Well, we're going to go back to Ezekiel or Yehezkiel 36. This is going to be a long little read here. I think I'm going to go from 17 down to 38, but it's a long little read. I picked, let me go, I'm going to go 16. And the word of Yahuwah came to me saying, came to who? The author? Came to me saying, son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their own ways and deeds. Blessed in the city when you obey, cursed. So they defiled their own land. They set themselves up for being cursed. To me, their way was like the uncleanness of a woman in her monthly period, like a menstrual cycle. Oh, wow. Ooh. So I poured out my wrath on them for the blood they had shed on the land, and for their idols, they defiled it. Again, these blessed people disobeyed, and they ended up cursed and dispersed. And I scattered them among the nations, and they were dispersed throughout the lands. I have judged them according to their ways and their deeds. And when they came to the nations, wherever they went, they profaned my set apart name. So they still wasn't giving him honor, even though they were in a cursed position. We didn't honor him still. For it was said of them, these are the people of Yahuwah, and yet they have gone out of his land. We didn't represent well. We were not good proxies. We were not good ambassadors. But I had compassion on my set apart name, which the house of Israel had profaned among the nations wherever they went. Israel. He had compassion on his name, Israel. Therefore say, and see, we say Israel. I don't believe that's even the way it's pronounced. That's not what is, but we use in Israel. I don't believe that's the terminology. I don't believe that. I know it's other nations that say Eve or other names, but I don't believe it's Israel. But we're going to use that as long as we're here using this English tongue. We'll use that for the moment. But yeah, still, we the people, Bantu. Therefore, say to the house of Israel, thus said the master, Yahuwah, I do not do this for your sake, O house of Israel, but for my set apart name's sake, which you have profaned among the nations wherever you went. And I shall set apart my great name, which has been profaned among the nations, which you have profaned in their midst. And the nations shall know that I am Yahuwah, declares the master Yahuwah, when I am set apart in you before their eyes. When I am set apart in you before their eyes. When I am set apart in you before their eyes. So he has a goal to be set apart in us, even though we're disobedient, even though we've been out of line. Does his word come back void, empty, vain? Does he say anything? He said this, and I shall take you from among the nations, and I shall gather you out of all lands, and I shall bring you into your own land, and I shall sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean. He gonna clean us up from all your filthiness, and from all your idols, I cleanse you. He been whooping us, but he's looking to not just humble us, but the day that exalt us. He got respect for our person. He loves us. And I shall give you a new heart. What? That heart that the Torah wrote on? What? That his instructions are wrote? What? And put a new spirit within you. What? And I shall take the heart of stone out of your flesh, and I shall give you a new heart of flesh, and put my spirit within you. What? He gonna do it. Come on. Come on. Seek ye first his kingdom. Come on. And I shall cause you to walk in my laws, in his instructions, and guard my right rulings, and shall do them. And you shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers, and you shall be my people, and I shall be your Elohim, and I shall save you from your uncleanness. What? And I shall call for the grain and increase it, and shall bring no scarcity of food upon you. Oh, wow. What? What? Oh, okay. No, this for Christians. This for other nations. This ain't for us. Come on, what? What? Okay. Stop playing. Stop playing. But yeah. And I shall increase the fruit of your trees, increase the increase and the increase of your field, so that you need never again bear the reproach of scarcity of food among the nations. And you shall remember your evil ways and your deeds that were not good. So we're going to remember what we did wrong. Oh, didn't Isaiah talk about, basically they were seeing all that happened to the wicked, that was, burnt with the worms and everything. Yeah. And you shall loathe yourselves in your own eyes for your crookedness and your abomination. So, we're going to remember what we did wrong, but we're going to have a check in there, something, we're going to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. Not for your sake am I acting, declares the Master Yahuwah. Let it be known to you. Be ashamed and blush for your ways, O house of Israel. Thus said the Master Yahuwah, on the day that I cleanse you from all your crookedness, I shall cause the cities to be inhabited, and the ruined places shall be rebuilt, and the land that was laid waste tilled, instead of being a ruin before the eyes of all who pass by. And they shall say, this land that was laid waste has become like the Garden of Eden. What? And the wasted and the deserted and the destroyed cities are now walled and inhabited. Inhabited by who? Israel. Israel and its possessions. Not Israel alone. Who are we going to be royal priests to? We're going to preach to ourselves. We're going to preach to other nations that submit and come in as possessions. They're going to have to get rid of the nationalism. They're going to have to drop that. And they're going to have to be ones loyal to the patriarch, the father. Yes. Then the nations which are left all around you shall know that I, Yahuwah, have rebuilt in the destroyed places and planted that was laid waste. I, Yahuwah, have spoken it, and I shall do it. Oh, so he lies now? Did he say this or what? Do we declare that this is something that can be fabricated? Is this not true? Is this real or not? Did he say it? Does his word come back void? Did he say this? 37. Thus said the master Yahuwah, once again, I shall let the house of Israel inquire of me to do for them. I shall increase their men like a flock. He's not talking to Christians. He's not talking to Edom. He's not talking to Egypt. He's talking to Israel. As a set apart flock, as the flock of Jerusalem at her appointed times, so shall the wasted cities be filled with the flocks of men, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah. Come on, seriously? Yeah. Who is he talking to? Who is his covenant with? Israel. Look, when I was a Christian and they was putting white Jesus before me, I had no issues with it. I was a faithful tithing member. So now I come and learn my culture and heritage, and it offends other nations, people of other nations. They get mad. Now that I know a truth, they say, oh, it's all about your culture and heritage. When I was in Christianity, it wasn't about my culture and heritage. I didn't have one. So now that I'm learning the truth, it's a problem because I'm dealing with the truth now, When I recognize that the text that you claimed as your book really belongs to Israel, and it's about their culture and heritage. It's a history book. But now I'm dealing with truth. Let's not talk about culture and heritage no more. But yet, that's all America ever talks about is culture and heritage. Except for when you point out when they do something wrong, which is a lot they've done wrong. But you can't speak of anything that they've done wrong. You can only speak about the good they've done or the things the lies they buried. Library? They ain't been telling the truth. They've been giving us his story. And now that we're starting to find out information and challenging things, they have a problem. I don't hate other nations. And I'm not looking for possessions or whatever so I can be this harsh master over them, I'm not looking for revenge. Vengeance is of Yahuwah. That's his thing. Those that come in, why would someone want to get revenge on someone that is obedient to Yahuwah? How does that make sense? When we were forever disobedient to him, and if they're obedient, we should be thankful, because we were the bad ambassadors. We were the bad examples. And in spite of that, they still got it together. They got it right. We need to be thankful for that. Why hate them for that? You know, uh, we're the oracles. We're the example people, and there have been people that, despite of the, the example that we gave, they've operated in faith, they've operated in obedience, and these things impress the Most High. They impress Yahusha. Why am I envious of that? I'm not supposed to covet. That's, again, an instruction. I'm not supposed to covet. So why am I going to be upset about them becoming into the kingdom? As long I need to focus on me getting in there. I got to endure to the end. He made a deal with me, my people, my ancestors, and I don't have a reason to be upset with them when we didn't keep the covenant. We the one broke it. He could have just turned away from us altogether and replaced us, but he chose not to. He went about it and said, I'm going to make a way to clean you up anyway. In spite of you, I'm still going to make a way. I'm thankful. I'm awakened. And in that, I'm gonna be one that's going to be helpful towards other nations. But that's, first thing though, I got to take care of my own. I'm not harmful towards any nation, just like Leviticus 19, where it talks about the sojourner that's among you. You treat them like a brother, but they among. If they ain't giving reverence to Yahuwah, and they not acknowledging that we the people, I don't hate them, but they don't get treated as one of us. They have to follow their guideline. I didn't set the guideline. Yahuwah did. Why get mad at me? And I'm not gonna worry about it. People say I'm wicked because I speak out against, American patriotism. How can you put any banner before the Nisi of Yahuwah? You can keep your Star-Spangled Banner. That's toilet paper. But Abba Yah, I thank you. Abba Yah, I thank you for this opportunity to just talk a bit. Read your scriptures. Read your text. I pray that someone has, heard something that helps them. And if someone has something to rebut, or someone has something to add to it, that I pray that we are able to reason together. I'm not one that runs from the challenges that come, from the body. Iron sharpens iron, meaning there will be some friction. Can we grow from that? I don't expect anyone to submit to me to the point that they don't test me. Not my wife, no, anybody. You're supposed to test every spirit. And I'm not one that's above that. Test every spirit. Does that mean disrespect? No. And so, Yah, you shown through your text over and over. Gideon tested you multiple times, and you were not offended. You were not. You still raised that man up. So I bless your name, Yahuwah. I bless your name, Ahaya. I bless you more and more. I submit myself. I have no problem acknowledging your high priest, Yahusha, but my worship is to you, Yahuwah. Hallelujah. Blessings and shalom. Hallelujah.